Well, hello and welcome to the stream. Let's go ahead and see what we can get into. We're going to do a little bit of this art bell somewhere in time. And this is going to be interviewing Moulton, Howe, and Brad Steiger. And this is about angels, demons, crop circles, and animal mutilations. Enjoy.
Welcome to Dreamland, a program dedicated to an examination of areas in the human experience not easily nor neatly put in a box. Being seen at the edge of vision, awakening a part of the mind as yet not mapped, and yet seems every bit as real as the air we breathe but don't see. This is Dreamland. Another Sunday night, another Dreamland. Good evening, everybody. I'm Marvell. I'll give you a thumbnail sketch of what's coming up tonight. First, of course, the world's expert, well-acknowledged world's expert on crop circle mutilations and an extending field. That's Linda Howe. She'll be coming to us from Philadelphia. Then, a man who has written over 100 books. The latest of which is called The Whole Thing in the Attic. They were generally at the cellar, but this one definitely is in the attic. We'll find out. Brad Steiger. Brad Steiger is going to be my guest. And so that's a little bit of an idea of what's coming up. Let me take care of a couple of items right up front. We all know that information is what it's all about. And Linda, welcome to the show again.
Hi, Art. I stepped back in about an hour ago from North Haven, Connecticut, where the Omega Conference was held with Dan Friedman and Jacques Millay from California, and myself and others, discussing a variety of phenomena, including the current humanoid autopsy controversy.
Of course.
And last night there was considerable conversation about whether the cameraman died on August 3rd, 1995 in Los Angeles. A man that matches the name that Santilli had originally given researchers may have died. But I talked with Santilli's office as recently as Thursday, and they said that as far as they were concerned, the cameraman they're dealing with is alive and is under deep cover to protect him with his family. So that issue is unresolved tonight.
Oh boy, that gave me a little bit of jump. So he's no doubt that he's still alive, or at least you're.
Yes, they were telling me on Thursday, and as part of the conversation and trying to clarify, is this man alive or not? I also talked with Bob Shell in Washington, and he had a very interesting comment to make about his own feelers into the intelligence community. He worked 30 years ago in the Central Intelligence Agency as a zoologist biologist on things that would be related to biochemical warfare, or at least the research into those matters. And he says with great firmness that he has not worked for the agency for 30 years, that many of these men do keep friendships with some of the people that they work with. And I'm now going to play you an excerpt of one of his conversations recently with one of those colleagues who then referred him to get another man actively in intelligence who has an extraordinary thing to say about the panels that we have seen in the debris footage that has the two six-fingered hands side by side in what is now referred to as the panels or the boxes that the creatures were clutching to their chests, according to the cameraman when they came on the scene to retrieve them. So now first is Bob Shell, and then I'm going to have some more comments and play another very brief audio of an extraordinary statement left on my message.
All right, here comes Bob Shell, and he is an ex-FBI photo consultant analyst.
That's right.
Go right ahead, Linda.
So I called up my friend who is in intelligence. officially retired. And
can I just ask for a qualifier? Is the friend work in the interstate that related to MJ12 or any of the special projects in the administration?
that's my personal knowledge.
Okay.
That's my personal knowledge.
Do you mean that he may have?
I doubt it. I know he knows a lot about this stuff.
Okay, well, I won't interrupt any further.
I don't think he was ever officially involved in it. But anyway, I called him up when I first got into this, and I said, Jim, let me tell you this story. I told him about the film. And I said, well, I bet it is. And he said, well, I figured it was a matter of time. And I said, Jim, am I getting myself in any personal danger by getting involved in it? He said, let me get back to you on that. He called me back 3 days later after talking to some of his friends. He said, Bob, I don't think you have anything to worry about because if they wanted to hush up and trying to Cameron both of them would have been dead a week ago.
He said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, based on that assurance from him, I went ahead and got involved in it. And I have had no sign that anybody is monitoring me, following me, nobody's threatened me. I see no intelligence involvement at all, which really surprises the hell out of me.
Anything else, any other information that's come to you from sources verifying it and so on?
Only that I have talked to one man who was referred to me by my other friend.
Jim.
This man is an active intelligence officer, very high level, who says that he has personally seen one of those control panels, the things with the handprint, years ago, back in the 60s. And he said he was peripherally involved in a project that's attempting to reverse engineer them. And what they are is computers. And he said that after all the years of research they had done on them, they were no closer to understanding them than they were the first day they laid eyes on them.
And the knobs placed in the palm at the ridges of the lower knuckles, at the tips of the fingers and so forth, they press one and having some kind of connection to whatever electrical field or nerve impulse there would be.
What he said these things are is, the way he put it to me was neuron-based computers.
Neuron-based?
Yeah, not electronic, but biological based. Which is very curious because there's an article in this month's Discovery magazine talking about building just such a thing. Computer scientists are working in that direction.
Now, that is a very interesting and new concept, the idea of a neuron-based biological computer that would be personally keyed to each of the beings, tailor-made so that whatever their hands or their fields or their telepathic neuron connection to those panels would be their direction. And he also went on to say that there is a distinct possibility that each panel tailor-made for each being could not be cross-used by another being, or we couldn't activate them. And it may explain ours why, in the cameraman statement, he said that he called them the freaks at the crash site were screaming and clutching these boxes or panels desperately to their chest.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, that is incredible.
Yes. And the fact that we've been trying to back engineer and that we haven't gotten much further now than where they began 50 years ago says something about the kind of technology involved.
I'm not surprised. That's an incredible report. Absolutely incredible. And of course,
yeah, it goes on because Dan Tilley had told me that in the autopsy on the being that we have not seen that is under the control of Volker Spielberg in Germany, that the other humanoid had a sort of blemished and shriveled look to the skin, and then Tilley has almost, I guess he had just inferred that that was an older being. Well, Bob Shell, in talking about these panels and the individuation of the panels, he said that there is some possible indication that the autopsy that none of us has seen is actually the being that was dead at the crash site when they arrived on the morning of June 3rd, and that was the cameraman photographed in Fort Worth in July 47, the two beings, and the one that we've seen. The one we've seen would be the wounded humanoid at the site June 3rd. That Spielberg has the autopsy on the first dead creature, which the cameraman said rested on ice in a truck and hauled off to Wright Patterson. And the doctors who have seen the autopsy on the second one said it could have been preserved on ice and still had that fluid blood come out from the scalpel, leaving two more for a third one to match. The cameraman said he flew back 2 years later in 1949 to do an autopsy on another one, leaving in the Bob Shell scenario one being still alive. And I now want to play for you a message that was left on my message machine after a Dreamland report that I did about 2 weeks ago. And until now, talking with Bob Shell, it didn't make sense. Now I'm going to play it just for all of us to think about.
The government made contact in 1949 when they returned the alien that survived.
The government made contact in 1949 when they returned the alien that survived.
An anonymous message, I take it.
Yeah, and
oh God.
Yeah. Maybe Shell is right. Maybe there was a fourth surviving being that went back someplace, and that the three autopsies accounted for by the cameraman would be the one dead being, the one injured with the big leg wound, and the third that lived for 2 years. And I'm only putting that out as Bob Shell's hypothesis, but something new to consider as we're all trying to get to the bottom of the truth in all this.
Oh, this is amazing. And you know, something that began as more people than not saying, we think hoax, has been building and the evidence we've been getting every week now has been toppling over to the side of this really did happen.
Yes, and one of the men in the audience in North Haven was a medical doctor, his entire profession. He saw the footage last night, he saw the unedited autopsy of debris footage, and he stood up and said that I know something about the Turner syndrome, which has been proposed as a genetic anomaly. He said, I can assure you that there is nothing in the human life that would match up to the Turner syndrome. And we've heard that before, but it was interesting to hear it repeated again.
All right, Linda, give out all your information if you would, please. This is a remarkable report. I wish I'd taken it.
Well, thank you. We can go keep doing this more and more.
Yes.
Like you, I have an 800 number now for people who would like information about my books and videos, and I can give that out.
Okay.
800-707-9993. Again, that's toll-free, 800-707-9993. And for people who want to write to me, and you can ask for confidentiality, and I will always honor it. It is Post Office Box 538 in Huntingdon Valley, Pennsylvania. The zip code is 19006. And again, it's Post Office Box 538, and the city is HUNTING. E is in dog, O-N, Valley, PA, 19006. And my fax number is area code 215-491-9842.
All right, excellent. Linda, I want to advise you, I have received, just prior to airtime, one of the best stories with regard to Bigfoot facts that I've ever received, and I'm going to forward this to you shortly.
Great, because one of the stories I'm working on is a collection of the Bigfoot eyewitness sightings that I've been receiving also since our Greenland report.
Great, well, I've got to run, but this will be on the way to you, and believe me, it's worth the wait. It'll be there shortly.
Great, maybe I can do this next week.
All right, we'll look for a follow-up. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Take care. That's Linda Howe, as I said, acknowledged to be a world's expert on crop circles, animal mutilations, and deeply involved, as you can hear, in this autopsy business. And by the way, the wreckage photographs, I repeat, the wreckage photographs, to include, listen very carefully now, the panels that Linda just talked about, a very, very good resolution picture of those panels, and the bar with the glyph on it are available on our bulletin board service, which is open now and 24 hours a day. You're welcome to go in there and download one photograph, GIF file, actually, every day free of charge. That number is area code 702-727-1709. 702-727-1709. More than, I know it's unbelievable, but 100 books on the strange and unknown. Here he draws upon his 40 years as a psychic researcher to select the eeriest, spookiest, scariest true stories from his own investigations and from his extensive files of paranormal and mysterious. Steiger and his wife Sherry live in Forest City, Iowa, with cats, ghosts, Scandinavian pixies. We're going to have to find out what those are. But his latest book, which I do not have a copy of, by the way, is The Awful Thing in the Attic. But you can all imagine that with over 100 books under his belt, and that's hard for me to imagine, 100 books under your belt. At any rate, Brad Steiger coming up right after the break. Let me just tell you very quickly that my book, The Art of Talk, is, hopefully you've got a pen and pencil there now. My book, The Art of Talk, is available to be ordered right now. We'll be shipping this week. Shipping this week if you order now. In addition, I poured my heart and soul into that book, and I think you're going to love it. It is of the highest quality. It's a hardcover book, and you can order it right now, throughout the night, if you can get through. The number is 1-800-864-7991. Take it down. 1-800-864-7991. Now, when we come back, it's off to the strange world of Brad Steiger. This is something I've been waiting for some time to do. Large honor indeed to interview Brad Steiger is next. And the world famous Brad Steiger. Brad, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Art. Pleasure to be with you.
Have you read over 100 books?
This book is number 134.
Oh my God. I read the first book in my whole life, which is just coming out, and it drained me and almost killed me. How do you do it?
It's what I do, you know. It's just my life, it's my energy.
I'm surprised you have any life left after that. It was a killer job for it. Well, anyway,
but you don't have a copy of the book, I can put it in.
No, I don't. I have a copy of The Strange World of Brad Steiger, and In My Soul I Am Free, and that's it so far. So if you are so inclined, I'm sure you'd love to have an autographed version.
Well, you certainly will have one, my friend.
All right. First of all, I guess a little background on Brad Steiger. How did you get started with an interest in all of this?
I suppose I'd have to go back to the fact that I was reared in a haunted house. And then I had a near-death experience at age 11.
Oh boy.
And I get a business term from another world or dimension when I was 5. and put all those together, and I guess I had an early interest. People think I'm 112 years old, but you have to remember I began writing when I was 15. So people, even my contemporaries, will say, gee, I read your book in high school. Well, that's true, but I'm not that much older. I'll be 60 now in February.
Listen, well, you don't sound it, number one, and you certainly don't write like it.
Well, thank you.
So I can understand why you began writing early.
Yeah, I really had no choice, Art. When I was 5, and I've told this in a number of books, but I had a close encounter with what today we commonly think of as an alien being. I didn't know if it was an elf, a fairy, or whatever. This happened just before I was 5. Interestingly, just only recently, I met a woman who now lives in California, who grew up in the neighboring Iowa town next to mine, who had an experience with the same being at the same time, and we knew it was probably the same, or at least a similar being, I should say, because she had an artist commissioned to paint this being. And when I walked into the art gallery, I was overcome because that was the being. I've had several artists try to replicate as I described it, but this was absolutely the closest.
Well, do the best you can for us. What was this being? What did it look like?
Well, I grew up on a farm. I'm a country boy. I've lived all over the world, New York, the West Coast, Arizona, but I'm still a country boy. I love it here in Iowa, Midwest. So I'm used to seeing, at that time at age 5, I was used to seeing my father in his coverall. So I was awakened. I wasn't awakened because I'm a night person now. You see, your producer said, "Better take a nap. You up to the midnight." I said, "I'm going to bed before 30." All right, good. So I'm a night person. Excellent. And even as a child, as my mother said, I just could not sleep. I mean, it's just not part of my reality, I guess. So I would sit on the edge of my bed, and in those days we didn't have electric lights yet. We didn't have radio, we didn't have TV, of course. So I would sit on the edge of my bed, and our L-shaped house, I could look in the kitchen window at my parents, and I could just kind of hear them. So it's kind of like early form of television. And I'm sitting on the edge of my bed with my parents. It's an October night, and I hear the wash tub from the well. I said we did not yet have running water, being pulled over under the window. So I'm wondering why our massive collie dog isn't just raising all kinds of pain because a stranger. And remember now, I live in the country. I live way out in the country. It's not like you live in a town and you hear the neighbors next door. There are no neighbors next door. So when you hear someone at night, not good. No. So I hear the tub being drawn over, and then I see this smallish man. What I first saw was that kind of a helmet on, a very large helmet. And then I saw that was his head. I mean, he had a very large head, and he was standing looking at my parents in the kitchen, through the kitchen window. And then it's one of those things, we've all done it, stared at the back of somebody's head and they finally turn around. So I kept staring at the back of this person's head, this small man's head, or small being's head, I didn't know what. And then that being finally then seemed to sense that the watcher was being watched and turned to look at me. And of course I will never, as long as I live, forget when he turned and I saw those kind of reptilian to me big snake eyes looking at me. Again, this was only from the light from the kitchen window, that all I saw was this large, I couldn't really get color because of course it was at night, but very large head. I would say it seemed kind of yellowish gray or whatever in the light, looking at me with these very large eyes, and then the eyes kept getting, so it seemed to me as a young child now, the eyes kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger until that's all there was for me, was those giant eyes, and then I awakened the next morning.
Well, then somebody would be tempted to say you had a dream.
Someone could easily say that. If that was a dream, Art, it is the only dream I remember from my childhood. It's a dream that I remember with crystal clarity to the age of nearly 60. It's a dream that comes back to me very often. And then, of course, I had this woman who was the same age as I am, that I met, and did not know as a child growing up because she lived in the neighboring town. And she moved to California when she was rather young. And as I say, we met in this art gallery where she had commissioned an artist to paint a being that came to her when she was a little girl in Iowa. And it was the same or, similar being.
What is it on reflection after all these years that you believe you saw?
I feel I had these things happen to me for specific reasons. The near-death experience, this being, I feel activated something within me. My Indian name, when I was adopted into the Seneca tribe, is Hatyaswa, which means he who testifies. And I think I am in a large part with these books. I think I am a testifier. Now, I was shown, because I have my near-death experience, I had giant questions answered for me before I was a teenager.
Well, let's move to that. 11 years old, near death. How did that happen?
That happened in a very severe farm accident in which, the word was already out to prepare the funeral type of thing. That my father and my uncle decided they had nothing to lose. They were going to try to go all the way to Des Moines, where they heard there might be someone who could put hatch meat together.
What happened to you? Can you tell us?
It's extremely gory. I went through a piece of machinery that completely could have decapitated me, really scalped me, and crushed my skull.
Oh my God.
So again, this was on my parents' wedding anniversary. So we were hurrying to get the chores and the work day so we could go out to eat that night to celebrate their anniversary. And this is how they ended up celebrating. So they decided to make a run. And again, I was in and out of the body. I went up to first a beautiful light. And then I realized that I was dying. And again, the classic, I'm too young to die at 11 years old. And then I thought of my mother, how's my mother going to see this? And I was instantly beside her. I thought of my friends, and I was instantly beside each one of them. I was free of the limitations of time and space.
In pain?
No pain, absolutely no pain. Then, as I said, I was out of the body. If I came back to my body, I would farther and farther away from my body. It was harder to get back to my body. And I kept moving toward this light. And then I had a moment of panic when I realized I am dying. And I was shown something I cannot put into words. I've written 134 books, thousands of articles and short stories. My words fail me. I was shown a series of geometric designs, is the only thing I can say. Seeing those designs somehow told me there was a form of meaning and sense to life, and I was in a state of ecstasy.
I've never heard anybody say that before. Geometric design.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of testimony about near death, but never geometric designs.
I've lectured, and sometimes people in the audience will, of course, there'll be just one or two that will say, I know what you're talking about, and I can't put in words either.
Do you remember those things, kaleidoscopes, when you were a kid? You heard them? Was it that kind of thing?
No, the closest I've seen, my wife, Sherry, does a healing seminar using fractal geometry. Mm-hmm. And the fractal that she projects, and she has marvelous results in the audience with people being spontaneously healed with it, are the closest that I've seen to these designs. At any rate, then, I was told or given to understand that I was to go back on the body, into the body. I came back into the body just as they were about to operate. And I was a very husky 11-year-old boy. And I remember sitting up, pushing two interns against the wall. And it was a Roman Catholic hospital. And one of the nurses then began to speak to me in a very soothing voice. And I've always, related to the feminine principle. and she's managed to call me. And then I went to a beautiful place. Well, I went into the surgery, a beautiful valley filled with marvelous people and so forth, who kind of kept me company until I returned to the body this time to stay.
So you once again left. You came back. You actually became conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Then once again unconscious.
Right.
I take it they gave you a general under and away you went.
Yes. The nun then managed to call me. My first audience for all of this, Art, in my room was a child who was dying when I recovered consciousness in a couple of days. And the nuns in this Roman Catholic hospital seemed to understand that I had been someplace, that I had this near-death experience. Of course, they didn't call it that then. And they asked me to speak to the parents. The child was already in kind of a comatose state, and to assure them, that their child would be going to a beautiful place, that I had been there, that I had seen it, and I was able to bring them comfort. And somehow at age 11, and that's what got me started, I realized if I shared these things, then it could bring people hope, inspiration, yes, comfort, realization that there is more. We are souls inhabiting a fleshly body. There's more to us than even the most imaginative of us tend to believe.
Okay, I've heard, they even did a piece on this on 2020 or 60 Minutes, forget what it was on that. They had a doctor say, well, we believe this area that people go through, or this light they see, is the brain, which is dying from the outside in, and as the outside dies, you see this core of light, which is in fact the core of your brain. In an attempt to explain it medically,
Right.
If you were standing in front of that doctor and listening to that, what would you say?
Well, I guess one thing I would say is you haven't been there in trying to theorize about these things.
Yes.
And I have the most beautiful imitation rose sitting in front of me, but it's not real. We can imitate, we can replicate, but then there's the real. Then there is that which is transformative. There's that which tells us that what we really know in our hearts, that we are more than physical things.
And so that's how strongly you feel about it. You would just say, you haven't been there, it is real.
Well, I think you understand that I've really stopped arguing with people at this point.
Because there's no point.
There's no point. I have had, I certainly am a human being who enjoys, I don't like to say I told you so, and I try not to, but I've had over the years, so many people laugh at me because I talk about UFOs, laugh at me because I talk about ghosts, who then, after they've had their experience, they return and they don't care who argues with them because they've seen, now they know, they have experience. So I taught college for a number of years, and the bright young ladies in the department used to set me up with a science system. Every lunch for me became a debating society. And when I was young and earnest, I did that. I debated, and tried to sway with intellect and knowledge and footnotes. And now I realize these are individual mystical experiences. And once you have had one, you cannot be dissuaded. You cannot be told. You don't care what someone thinks or someone believes or disbelieves, because you know it is that noetic sense of knowing. It's beyond reason. It's beyond intellect.
Yeah, it must be a great comfort. Brad, hold on one moment. We'll be right back to you. My guest is Brad Steiger. Stay right where you are.
I looked at forth in my books in the late 60s. And at that time, people weren't ready. I mean, friends like J.O. and I and so forth said, man, you are really off the deep end. These are solid, plump, physical. And, of course, Sherry was Ellen Hynek's manager right up to the very end, working with him. And he came very much to see the multidimensional, the paraphysical dimension. And like I say, I have chased these beings, if you will, all over the world. What I have seen, what I have witnessed with my own eyes, and of course we know. I think it was, I don't remember who it was, Arthur C. Clarke or someone who said that the science of what the advanced generation would look like magic to us. So nothing I can say is dogmatic. So please understand that. It seems what I have seen with my own eyes, my own experience, seems to be multidimensional or paraphysical, more than it seems to be physical. I'm not denying the physical. I would never do that. But I'm saying the bulk of what we see, I think, is multidimensional or paraphysical.
We're not gonna have time for you to answer this completely right now, but I had on my program the other day an individual, and I've had faxes from individuals lately, and I know this sounds crazy and it sounds like a TV series revisited, but they firmly, literally claim they are immortal. People who claim their aging process has halted. Is there such a thing in your view?
I think there are ascended masters who walk among us. I think they're striving for immortality or reversing the aging process. I think at this point, I think I know to whom you're referring. I don't think it's happened yet. Time will tell, but I don't think we're going to see these people being able to demonstrate what they hope.
A lot of them are not interested in demonstrating anything at all. I figure that they'll end up being guinea pigs if they. So I've been approached anonymously. I was just curious.
Well, I think, okay, maybe I would say that I think there may be such timeless beings walking among us.
Oh, that was the question. All right. Stand by. You've got several minutes, so just relax and we'll get back to you. This, of course, from near the area that you're Brad. Welcome back. Thank you. All right. With that many books under your belt, I don't know where to begin except having had the early childhood experiences that launched you into this, for those who just joined us at this hour, you must have studied quite a few haunted houses. And haunted houses have absolutely fascinated me all my life.
Yeah.
What story would you relate, or stories of the best cases of haunting that you've run into?
Well, I would probably have to. I'm not good at choosing the best when I've been involved with so many. I know you understand that.
Sure.
I would relate probably, maybe kind of do a pastiche here.
All right, good.
What I've tried to do in this book, this current book, it is a collection of some of my favorite hauntings. And you put your finger on something, though, Art. I think when we talk about haunted houses, no matter how scary, if we see a movie about haunted houses or ghosts, on one level, they are telling us something very positive, that there is life after death, that something survives.
That's right.
So in haunted houses, I really began with the whole idea. I was like a botanist. If I heard a rare flower was blooming in Brazil, then I went there to be there when the moon came up. So that was my attitude. I wanted to investigate as many as possible. And in those days, as I say, I was extremely intellectual. I was rationalizing, explaining away everything. And then I ran up against things that, could not be explained by squirrels in the attic or knocking water pipes. Things that really belong to can. Sure. One of the houses we investigated, I'll start with this one. I find it one of the most dramatic because I was, along with several other 200-pound men, lifted into the air by this entity. This was a situation where a number of murders over the years have taken place in this house. Generations apart, but there seems to somehow be vibrations or energies that exist. And some people may not know when they move in that murder has been committed in their home. And somehow they end up replicating the terrible deeds that was done before. Well, this happened to be the case with this house. And in this, there had been a double murder in the garage. There had been a double murder in the basement. When we were called by the police and others to investigate, most of the phenomena were taking place in the basement. The water would go down, turn on the faucets, and blood would come pouring out of the faucet. process. There seemed to be faces on the wall. There seemed to be things happening. But in this one back room in which the murder had taken place, both murders were of a jealous husband who came home and blew his wife and the lover away with a shotgun, even though it may have been a generation apart.
Most hauntings, Brad, seem to be, I've noticed, because of unrequited love, because of a violent death, because of what do you think happens? Is it that the soul is somehow unable to move on?
I still have to intellectualize things. You have to bear with me. I think there are varieties of hauntings. I used to, when someone said a soul waiting to move on, I thought, oh, come on. Now I see that truly could be the case in some hauntings. I think when we're dealing with a ghost phenomenon, a ghost is like a photograph. A ghost is a photograph that somehow replicates itself in the environment. People say, why are these ghosts always built around terrible things that have happened? Well, they're not. There are happy ghosts. I've gone to places and I hear from people all the time who have a ghost that they consider like a member of the family.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. So again, there are happy ghosts, but the ones that we seem to hear about, without question, happen around violent death and death of some nature, great emotion involved, and unfortunately, too often the emotion of hatred. So in this particular case, did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
Well, I think you did, but you sort of hinted it when you talked about happy ghosts.
Yeah,
I've heard of them. So what does that add up to then? Does that add up to some souls who want to be here can be here? Otherwise,
I don't have any final answers. I have to put them in categories, my friend.
all right.
I have to say that there are those in which it seems there is a malignant energy.
Yes.
Sometimes I think the house itself hates people. I mean, I think there is an energy within a house. It may have nothing to do with the people involved, and somehow it poisons the people involved. And for example, almost every major hotel, I don't know if you know this or not, I run into this, has what they call the suicide room. Did you know that?
Have you heard of the Miss Ball Hotel here in Nevada?
No, but that may be one, huh?
It is one.
Okay.
It is one.
Where suicides happen, someone comes in, they feel depressed, they don't know, and then suddenly they feel encouraged, they feel motivated to do the act. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
There seems to be residue of emotions in some places. In this particular house, I went into the back room with a psychic medium to try to get some impressions, and the door kept trying to close. Now, to close, Art, it had to move uphill because this is an old house.
Yes.
And in the basement, the floor was unlevel. So it had to move uphill, and then it had to, part of the cement kind of stopped it. So it should normally, even if it did blow in the wind, it would be stopped by this little raising segment of the floor. But this would move itself and try to close and lock me into the room. Now, I had a friend of mine, Husky, former Green Beret, whose buddy always goes with me, used to go in these cases. There's some other good-sized men there. So I said, hold the door open, don't let it close, because we're trying to pick up impressions here. Sure. When we finished, I said, okay, the darn door wants to be locked, you're closed, close it and lock it. Well, that was the wrong thing to say, and I said it was a little too much of an attitude. I see. We went upstairs. We were just trying to pick up impressions in other parts of the house, and all of a sudden, bam, we hear in the basement. And then it sounds like King Kong coming up from those basement stairs, one by one.
Oh, that's where I'd be going.
The door then from the basement throws itself open, and every one of us in the room were lifted into the air and then dropped. Just as if to say, watch your mouth, honey. I had my friends and they ran immediately down to the room that we had just locked, and the door had literally been thrown off its hinges.
Oh my God. I see. Now, how did you manage at that point even say where you were? I mean, my feet would be saying, get me out of here.
In those places, Art, I have to dissociate myself. I mean, I know, again, through meditation, through prayer, through other areas, and this can be carried too far, and My wife is certain that I don't carry it, but I can enter a mental state where I just shut off my emotions, my reactions, and so forth, and just kind of become a camera, recording an observer. I'm in the scene, but I'm observing the scene. And I think part of being a writer too, because everything that happens to me, I know someday is Christopher Mandel. Everything that happened to me, someday I'm going to write about it. But again, I have to, and my wife is very good about saying, "Hey, no, you're not the Brad machine." Some of my friends would call me when I get into that. So the Brad machine is taking. So you're not the Brad machine now. You're back with us and so forth. But in those cases, I have to, or like you say, I mean, my point. I guess what it did for me too, because I had intellectualized it so much, I realized here again, my math and intellect didn't help at all. I mean, that door went flying off its hinges. Something came out, something you could not understand, something you couldn't put the test to, something you couldn't put in the formula and explain away. There was an intelligence, there was a force, there was an energy in that house. It didn't want to be messed with. It wanted to be respected.
How many of you respected? How many of you were lifted in the air?
Oh, let's see. It must have been 3 women and 4 or 5 men.
Wow.
And each of us men were 200 pounders.
Uh-huh.
All at once, my friend.
So you had insulted this entity?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And I have learned to be circumspect since. I was young then. I was much younger then. Well, then the explorations of different houses, different areas. Again, you were talking, how we said, I said I don't try to convince people anymore. There was this one. The house, again, originally the police asked us to investigate at the time because so many phenomena. This was a marvelous home, beautiful home in which a former local politician had lived. And when he passed away, his 2 maiden daughters lived there until their death. But several people had seen every night from the field in which the old stables had been, Papa would materialize, walk across the lawn and into the house. And then you could hear the daughters talking to Papa. I mean, he would come back each night to them, who now were getting up in years themselves. I suppose to them, they simply went back in time, and it was Papa coming in from checking the horses and having a normal evening with them. So we investigated. The caretaker was very cooperative. The police officer who had put me onto the case, was a good friend. He'd taken crop circle pictures for me. He'd taken he was the eye in the sky, the traffic airplane cop.
Yes.
The eye in the sky. Right. So he was going to be with me. He was the one that had set that up. And I said he's been very cooperative, providing me flying different places, investigating UFOs. He suddenly had to be somewhere else that night. He was shifted in his duty roster, and a police officer took his place. We thought we were all crazy. So he was with us during the day and thought, he just never resisted a chance to give me the deal. So that night, we're standing out there, the place where Papa is supposed to materialize or has been seen. And right as clockwork, you see these like little sparkly lights starting to swirl. And the policeman says to me, "What's that?" I said, "I don't see anything." Couldn't resist. It kept forming and forming until in front of us is this image, ghostly sparking image of a man. And the police officer is going out of his head because I keep saying, "I don't see anything, officer." I couldn't resist because he's been kissing the needle all day. So just at the time he's pulling out a service revolver, I said, No. I said, "I see it. I'm sorry." But I said, "You kind of had it coming." He said, "Yeah, I guess I kind of did." But he says, "What in hell I was seeing?" That's the first time I've ever put my hand on a ghost. I couldn't resist because the image was so tangible, like a hologram being projected.
I'm sure shooting at it would have been poorly advised.
Poorly advised, but I did get my fingers into it, and it was tingly, cold feeling. Like we feel the cold spot on the houses.
Kind of like I've got on my spine. Brad, hold that there for just a second. Oh boy, if that doesn't raise the hackles on the back of your... Well, Tingly, huh? Well, I'm going to take you now to another world, inside your body. These are called hypnagogics. You hand into an entity and a tingling feeling. Now, see, you must have been in the classic Steiger mode because there's no way in the world that I put my hand inside any entity.
But I have this insatiable curiosity.
Yeah, obviously, you're lucky to still be here from my point of view.
Well, I've been told that by many people.
I'm sure you have. So, did you just hold your hand in there and pull it out, or what?
I was respectful. I learned respect by that time, you see. And I just had to. I mean, it was such a, where are you going to get an opportunity like this again? The majority of hauntings are sounds, their feelings, their moans, their groans.
Yes.
It is seldom, you get a really good materialization of that.
The physical manifestation.
Right. So again, it paid me no attention. But again, as I say, I have to put them into categories. This was like a strip of film art that was being reactivated and did the same thing every night. It walked them into the house, didn't open the door, but made the motion and walked through the closed door, and was then moving about. You could see the light. It was illuminated, and you could see it moving from room to room in the house. Now again, we had a number of police officers. Again, interestingly, a couple of police officers came back after we had left and had the same experience.
They burned rubber getting out of it. I'm sure that would have been fun, yes, right. Did they make a report on this, or how did they handle this officially?
No. Again, as I say, the majority are situations where the police or someone has called us in to try to determine do an exorcism as possible. To my knowledge, even though these are police officers who have, read my books, who have made contacts, who believe in a larger reality.
You're probably, though, the last turn they make in trying to.
Oh, of course. And again, that seems unfair on one level, but I understand that because everyone wants to explain it. And first you go to your chief and say, we have a haunting here. And he says, right, you've been working too hard, maybe you better take some leave. So this was almost all done unofficial, but I can say I've done it with police captains, lieutenants, chiefs of entire areas in major cities across the United States, but it's all done on the QT. Unofficially.
All right, and this is going to be unofficial too, Brad. Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman died terrible physical deaths. O.J. Simpson's been acquitted of those murders. Nevertheless, they died terrible deaths. Would you expect that to be the